Your 20s are some really amazing / crazy times. Think about it. When you turn 20, you're most likely still in school. In your early 20s, maybe you've graduated college and started your career. And then by the time you're in your late 20s, many of us have gotten married, maybe had kids, or maybe completely ditched that entire notion of settling down and said, F it, I'm going to go move across the country and try something different. Regardless of where you're at in your 20s or you're reminiscing on this amazing decade of growth, there are some really cool things that you get to spend money on in your 20s, and I definitely want to highlight that in this video because there are things that you told me that were some of the best things you spent money on, and I have to agree. Let's check it out. Hey guys, it's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt, live payment free, but spend money on things that we love. And when I'm thinking about my 20s and some of the best things that I've spent money on and some things that I totally recommend that you spend money on in your 20s. So if you're watching this, comment below. Let me know. How are you comfortable sharing your age? If you are, comment below. Let me know how old you are. So personally, I'm 33. So I've lived through this decade. And I have to say the number one thing, best thing that I spent money on in my 20s, a lot of you agree with this, is travel. I am so happy that I spent money on travel. I got to do some really cool things in my 20s. I got to travel internationally. I went to Australia. I went to Mexico. I did so many different things, not only internationally, but also right here in the States. I went whitewater rafting in California. I've gone to Disney World. I've gone to New York City. All of these really fun things. And I don't regret any of those trips because they fill me with so much joy. And I feel like you get a lot of experience and growth out of travel. Number 2. This is going to be a surprising one and not very sexy at all, but spending money on regular car maintenance is one of the best things that you can do in your 20s because you're pretty much, you don't have a lot of money. And so trying to get into a new vehicle, and a lot of us will end up taking out a car loan because we think that's what we need in order to hit this milestone in our lives after graduation. I have to tell you, making sure that I stayed on top of regular car maintenance, I think was one of the main reasons why I drove my car for 12 years and why it lasted that long is because I spent money on regular car maintenance. And if there was something that the mechanic said, hey, this really needs to be addressed or else you're gonna be in like the danger zone, I would address it. And so that meant, fixing different belts, timing belts, or getting my tires replaced, all of these things that are in addition to regular oil changes that I thought really helped me. So I want to say this in your 20s because I think this sets up you for success for continued car maintenance for the rest of your life. If you set that habit early on, you're going to make sure that your cars last you a very long time. Okay, number 3 is your 401k. I know it's not spending money in the way that we would spend on like travel or things month to month. It's more of an investing piece, but I feel like this is a way that you could look at it as I'm spending part of my paycheck on my retirement. And guess what? This type of spending means that you get that money back and way more when you retire and withdraw from that account. So I think it's the best thing that you can do early on in your 20s as you're starting out in your career. It would be fantastic if you just went up to your employer match from the very beginning. But if that's too scary and you're like, hold up, I think I need that money for more of my bills, start small. That's exactly what I did. I look back at that and I wished I would have paid more attention to how my 401k benefits were set up and what the employer match was. And maybe I would have understood the importance of starting earlier. But even so, I still contributed just 2% into that retirement account. And I feel like that really amplified the runway for what my 401k balance is now, which is now rolled over into an IRA. Speaking of rolling over, actually, did you know that you can do this? Whenever you leave a job, you can roll over your old 401k into a new IRA, and you can do this for free with no headache with Capitalize. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. 401k rollovers historically have been tedious and intimidating. To say that the process is complicated is an understatement. Think about all the things that you have to do. You have to contact your old provider, sometimes contact the old employer, fill out complicated forms, sometimes even mail a paper check. It's a mess. That's where Capitalize comes in. Capitalize is an independent platform, so independent of any type of brokerage firm or investment company, who helps you roll over your old 401k into an IRA for free. With Capitalize, you can let the experts do all the heavy lifting, easily compare your rollover options, do everything mostly online, and it's free. So why would you want to roll over an old 401k? Perhaps you don't want to leave it with an old employer. Plus, that old 401k plan could have really high fees and limited choices on what you can invest in. Don't know where your old 401k is located? Capitalize uses proprietary technology to locate 75% of the 80 million 401k accounts in the US. Now, Capitalize may make a referral fee based off of the IRA that you might choose that's listed on their website, but the choice is totally up to you. Look, there are 24 million forgotten 401k accounts that add up to $1.35 trillion. That's so much money. So don't let one of your old 401k accounts be one of those. Sign up for Capitalize for free using the link in the description box below. Number 4, getting back to the good stuff, okay? Number 4 is a new mattress. I thought this was one of the best things that I spent money on in my 20s. It was so nice because I don't know about you, in college, I was sleeping on like grandma's hand-me-down mattress, which was like super firm, really hard on my back. I didn't realize what I was missing until I bought myself a brand new mattress. And so I saved cash for a new mattress, and I feel like there's some really good deals. Like if you go through Costco, you can get them for really cheap, really affordable stuff. So I paid for one in cash, and the amount of peace that I got at night from a good night's rest is just second to none. In fact, somebody told me that you spend 8 hours a day in your job and 8 hours a day in your bed. So you better love both of those things. So it's like, either if you don't love your job or you don't love your mattress, change it. Number 5 is to spend money on a hobby or a class that just fills you with joy. So thinking about spending money on things like an art class, maybe archery, tennis lessons, something that actually fulfills that self-care need, or maybe that creative side of you where you wanted to try something new. I feel like this is especially great to spend money on in your 20s, because a lot of us start out in our 20s single, no kids, like the world's your oyster. And so while you have all this free time where you don't have those responsibility of like house maintenance or kids or anything like that, now is a great time to spend a little money on a hobby or a class that you love. Number 6, this one a lot of you guys put down that was one of the best things that you spent money on, and that is a wedding. Now, I definitely feel like this, for me, the reception was the best thing that I spent money on. Not so much like the wedding itself, of like buying invitations and a wedding dress and, you know, gifts and all of these things. I think spending money on the reception was so fun for us. Like if I could go back to that party, oh, hands down, I'd do it all over. If I could do it every year, that would be amazing. But the way that Kyle and I prioritized our wedding spending was we wanted 3 things. If there were 3 things in our wedding that we could throw big money at, what would it be? And those 3 things were band, booze, and food. So we knew we wanted plenty of good drinks for everybody. We wanted a killer band, and we also wanted food that we all enjoyed. And so those were the 3 priorities priorities that we stuck to and what really helped us with our wedding budget so that we could say no to expensive things like really nice flowers, and we could say yes to literally a 10-piece band with a horn section. Number 7 is a paid for car. I know in number 2 I talked about regular car maintenance, but number 7, as you get into your 20s and you get into your 30s, you start thinking about that, you're probably going to have to replace that vehicle. And so one of the best things that I spent money on in my late 20s was buying our 2015 Subaru Forester. And we did so in cash. And I used a lot of runway in my 20s to build up savings for that car. In fact, I was doing that pretty much right around the time that I became debt-free in 2014. I was starting to set aside a little bit here and there for a car. And then my husband and I got married. And then things kind of like, okay, I sold my car. He still had his car. Can we do a one car family for a while? And actually, that's what we've been doing since we came out here, which is pretty incredible. So I think it's important that you take the time to set up a savings account, particularly for a replacement car for your old one, and then do it again. Like we actually just did this. So we saved up for a second vehicle and we have that cash ready to go when we're ready to purchase. Number 8, this one is something that you guys said, so I don't have personal experience with this one, but one of the best things that you spent money on in your 20s was purchasing a house. Now, I would say purchasing a house, if it makes sense, would be one of the best things that you spend money on because, as we know, you can build equity with a home and it's something that is completely yours. However, home ownership doesn't always equal lower cost of living. So you do have expenses that you're going to have to pour into a house, whereas with renting, like is what I do currently, is you are just done and all the maintenance and HOA and our water fees, everything's included in that rent. So pros and cons to both. Trust me, I deal with thinking about this on a daily basis. Should I keep renting? Should I buy? This housing market is nuts and my rent is going up. So housing is kind of like a personal thing, but I think it could be a really cool way to spend your money in your 20s if it makes sense for you. Let me know what in this list is like your best thing that you've spent money on. Tell me below. Make sure you check out Capitalize, who can help you roll over your old 401k for free using the link in the description below, and I'll catch you in the next one.